Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Ashley and welcome to Ashley's Roses. So today, I am very excited to share this video with you. It has been long awaited. I think I've been working on it since August, I want to say. August. And this video has 4 of my very close CF friends and their cystic fibrosis stories. And you'll be able to just see the strong and incredible warriors that they are. So this is a long video, so I'm not going to make this intro any longer than it already is. So let's get on with the video.
Hi, my name is Nick DeBreezy Jr. and I'm 34 years old and I have cystic fibrosis.
Hi, I'm Abby Robinson. I'm 18 years old. I'm a sophomore at UC Santa Barbara and I have cystic fibrosis.
Hi, my name is Angel Mamino Haynes. I'm 32 years old and I have cystic fibrosis.
My name is Melissa Papageorgis. I'm 31 years old and I have cystic fibrosis.
According to what I was told, I was about 1.5 when I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. I had a lot of issues with my digestive situation. I wasn't going to the bathroom well. And, I had a lot of issues with my breathing, wheezing at a very, very early age. And at first they thought I had maybe allergies or asthma perhaps. So, and then I wasn't gaining weight. It was very difficult for me to gain weight as a baby. So they brought me to the hospital and had me checked out. And immediately the doctor said, let's do the sweat test, see what's going on with that. And sure enough, the results came in. I was positive for CF.
So I was diagnosed when I was 3 months old. It manifested itself first as a skin rash, which doctors originally thought was a zinc deficiency because my levels of zinc were really low, and that's a common way that a zinc deficiency happens is in terms of a skin rash. But what they soon found out was that not only were my zinc levels low, but kind of my levels of all vitamins and minerals were low because I wasn't getting the minerals and stuff from my food because I wasn't taking enzymes. So at first it was a zinc deficiency, but then they realized it was something much greater than that, and that's when they diagnosed me with CF.
I was diagnosed at 4 months of age. I was very colicky. I wasn't gaining weight. My stools were very smelly and runny. But the biggest issue, I wasn't gaining weight and I was coughing a lot, and the doctors actually recommended to put me on Robitussin. And so thankfully we had an appointment at Stanford for my brother, and I was 4 months old, and the doctor noticed how ill I looked and recommended to do a sweat test, and that's how I got diagnosed.
I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old, which is pretty late in life. Most people are diagnosed at birth or when they're pretty young. So my brother and I both have CF, and he was 16 and I was 14 when we found out. I always grew up having the very typical symptoms of CF, the loud, rattly cough. I was sick almost all the time. I was misdiagnosed with asthma and allergies for the first 14 years. And my brother actually got sick and had to go to the emergency room, and the pulmonologist that read his CT scan saw scarring on his lungs that's typical of cystic fibrosis, so they referred him to Stanford and he was diagnosed, and a month later I went to Stanford and they confirmed that I had CF also.
After my diagnosis, first thing they did was they started me on nebulizer treatments for my breathing and my wheezing. At that time there wasn't many options, so I think it was just albuterol, if I'm not mistaken. And they also had my parents learn how to do manual BD, which is physiotherapy. They had to cup their hands and do the thing on the back in old school fashion. So we did that 2-3 times a day. And as a toddler, I remember them doing that at a very early age. Maybe they started at around 2-3 years old, and it would help me get that phlegm moving and spitting that stuff out.
So the part of CF that almost killed me was the malnutrition due to lack of enzymes. Because I wasn't getting any of the minerals, my body couldn't absorb any of them, and I was tiny. I wasn't doing well at all. My organs started shutting down. My heart started to shut down. I had to be put in intensive care on a ventilator and in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks, just to kind of give my body a break and give it a chance to repair itself.
So it was basically a team effort on my family's part. Everyone had to learn hand percussion, all 12 positions. I was doing albuterol as my aerosols. I don't think any of the newer drugs or like Pulmazine or Hypertonic were out yet. And basically just trying to keep me active like in swimming and ballet and tap and jazz. But the main focus earlier in the years were just hand CPT and breathing treatments.
We started with airway clearance, which at the time we used a device called the flutter, which is a little tiny plastic piece that you blow into, and it basically shakes your lungs and shakes the mucus off your lungs. We also did inhaled antibiotics and a bunch of pills. My brother and I were pancreas deficient, so we don't have to take enzymes like most CF patients do, but we did all of the respiratory regimen.
One word to describe growing up with CF, I would say ball busting.
That's 2 words.
It could be one. It's a compound word. I'll give you another word. One word to describe growing up with CF, I would say difficult.
If I had to describe growing up with CF in one word, it would be exhausting. The hospitalizations, the treatments, just all the stuff that we have to do that kind of the normal teenager doesn't have to deal with. It can be a lot, and so it's really, really tiring.
One word to describe growing up with CF, I would say resilience.
Roller coaster ride. Well, I know that's 2 words, but roller coaster.
One word to describe growing up with CF, I would say challenging.
Frustrating.
One word to describe growing up with CF, I would say consuming. One of the things that I've learned having CF was to never take a day for granted. Unfortunately, growing up with CF, we've seen a lot of people with CF, and you become friends with them, and you get close with them, and sometimes they don't make it, and it's tough, and you see that, and you grow up with that, and you realize that one day you can be healthy, the next day you might not be. So you don't take any moments for granted. You don't take any breaths for granted. Another lesson is you cherish the people around you. You tell the people you love that you love them. You appreciate them every day, every moment. And you don't let those moments go. Another lesson that I learned was to be responsible. You see, with CF, as you may know, everything's scheduled. You're kind of a prisoner of your disease. You have to take your nebulizer at a certain time, you have to eat at a certain time, you have to take your pills at a certain time, you have to do your vest treatment at a certain time. So it kind of forces you to grow up faster and be more responsible and be more disciplined. So I would say I learned how to be disciplined, how to be more responsible as an adult because of the CF. Another lesson I learned, which is very important, is compassion. Some reason you just become more compassionate towards others, and you just want to give, you want to help others, and because so many people help you. I mean, in my life, I was lucky enough to have so many people surround me with love and kindness, and that experience opened me up to wanting to do the same for others. Also, another lesson I learned was to be tough, to be resilient, as we spoke about. It gives you like tough skin. It makes you fight harder. It makes you a fighter, a warrior. Sometimes we call each other CF warriors. There's a reason for that.
So growing up with CF has taught me to really live life to the fullest and take advantage of everything. Because as of right now, the life expectancy is 40, and of course I expect that to go up. But the reality is that I can't, and none of us can, know when this disease is going to overtake us, and at some point it will, and be it in 40 years, be it in 80 years, it's gonna happen. And the best way to kind of live life until then is not to go around and mope about it and to be sad about our predicament and like, why me? Just go out there and live your life and take advantage of opportunities you're given. Like, there's no reason to say no. Just go out there, say yes, and yeah, just live your life to the fullest.
To live life to the fullest, don't take anything for granted. To take time and actually live outside of CF. I mean, you have your CF regimen in the mornings and at night and sometimes in the afternoon, but to remember that you still have the normalcy about you, to go out and travel and just experience life and just enjoy every moment, because CF is a roller coaster ride, and you can be healthy one day and ill sick the next day, and you just have to take it with stride. And I've heard the saying, CFers are old souls, and I truly believe that. We deal with daily struggles with determination and strength and grace, and we grow up a lot faster than a lot of people of our age, and it's almost like we've lived this life before. But if you have a positive outlook and mindset, just to enjoy life, basically.
The lessons that I've learned from having CF is that you have to work hard. You can't use CF as an excuse. That's only giving yourself a disservice. And you just have to bust it harder than other people doing a lot of other things. You have to work twice as hard to get half of the results, but they're still worth it. And I think that CF makes you grateful for the time you have and the help that you have. And I think it's important for people to remember that CF is not what makes you interesting or special. It may influence the person that you are. How could it not? It affects every part of your life. But CF is just one thing about you, and it's definitely not the most interesting thing. The people that I know with CF are wonderful, beautiful, unique people for so many other reasons besides that they live with this disease.
I'm thankful for a lot of things for having CF. In fact, I wouldn't want any other way. Thankful because it made me who I am. It made me tough. It made me resilient, like I said earlier. It made me a fighter. And I'm thankful because, you know, it's allowed me to get closer to God. I have a lot more faith in God, and after all the struggles I've been through, and I believe in the power of prayer, which brought me closer to God. I'm thankful because it's introduced me to some incredibly loving and giving people, whether it was through the Make-A-Wish Foundation or the CF Foundation, and people I was hospitalized with growing up with CF. You know, it gave me these friendships that, some of these friendships are lifelong friendships that, you know, I cherish every day and I appreciate, especially since transplant. I'm thankful for CF because, you know, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I mean, being more empathetic, more compassionate, more appreciative of everything around you, and being able to give to others. It's allowed me to do that. That's what I'm thankful for.
I am thankful for CF because it's turned me into a fighter, and it's really taught me that there's nothing that I can't accomplish. Like when I was really, really little and not doing well at all, the doctors told my parents, she's not gonna make it to her first birthday. She's a 5% chance of getting there. And I made it to my first birthday, now I'm 18. And then when I was 5, around 4 or 5, doctors told me that there's no way I'd ever play sports, much less competitive sports. And as of right now, I'm training to go on the UCSB Division I softball team. So this has just really taught me that nothing that doctors say or that anyone says will dictate how I live my life. There's no hardship that I can't overcome. There's nothing that CF can put in front of me that I'm just gonna say, oh, okay, like I'm not gonna take that challenge. It's just incentive to push myself more and to show that I'm so much more than this disease, and it does not in any way define me.
I'm thankful for living with CF, learning how to live, because growing up I knew so many CFers that had passed away, so I really value life, and it's made me the person I am. I don't want to say CF is me, but I've defined how CF is for me. Knowing people that have passed away kind of helped me realize what's important in life and what's not. Silly dramas aren't important, or negativity is not important. Just really focusing on life itself. So I would say that's most important, is just experiencing life.
I am thankful for the friends that I've made. I'm thankful for the perspective that it's given me at a young age. I think growing up with this disease and not always having your health gives you a very unique perspective of what's important and what matters. And you know, it sounds cliche, but you don't take your health for granted, and you don't take very special moments for granted. And I think that that is something that a lot of people don't have. But look, when you have a disease that, you know, you lose friends to and you lose parts of yourself to, it definitely makes you grateful for the things that you have, and know, you know, what's important to worry about, and, you know, not sweat the little things.
Something I wish people understood about CF is really how taxing it can be on someone, how difficult it can be on someone. Because as you guys know, my CF fibros and sisters out there, it's an invisible disease. I mean, a lot of times we look healthy from the outside, but on the inside we're suffering. And I'm not one to complain, believe me, I wasn't raised to be a victim or make excuses in life. But you know, it's tough when you come across someone, and it could be your friends or even your family sometimes, they just don't realize how sick you are. And they make ignorant comments oftentimes, comments that can frustrate you, like, oh, I know what you're going through. I have asthma, or, oh, I know what you're going through. I had pneumonia last year. No, you really don't know what we're going through, because you're not inside of us. You don't know. And you know, even people on the street, just random people, there's just not enough awareness for CF. People don't know what it is. And you know, you go to a movie theater and you're coughing, and they give you a dirty look, or you're on a plane, and, you know, you get a cough attack, and people are like staring at you and wondering, what the hell am I going to do for the next 4 hours? I want to get out of the seat. And you know that, and you feel that, and it's challenging to deal with that sometimes. But they don't know that it's not contagious necessarily. So I guess we just need more awareness, more CF awareness, generally speaking, and that's it, period.
One thing I wish people understood about CF is how much kind of work goes on behind the scenes to keep us healthy. We'll wake up an hour earlier in the morning to do treatments. Sometimes we'll have to come home in the middle of the day and do a set of treatments. And then at night we'll be up late doing the treatments and then washing them. And that's on a good day. You know, if we're sick, we might be doing that 4 or 5 times. You get Pseudomonas, put tobramycin on top of that. That's like a 2-hour treatment set. And so, yeah, I wish people could see how much work we put in to be healthy. And when we kind of present ourselves in the morning and people see us as a normal, just like a normal teenager, I wish they knew how much like time and how much energy we put in to get to that point.
That if you Google it, that's not what I am. I tell people all the time who want to know more about CF never to Google it, because the internet can be a scary place. Every CFer is different, and I wish that people would talk to other people living with the disease, as opposed to defining me by what the internet says or by what CF standards are, because I feel that CFers define the statistics and the standards, not what the internet says.
Something I wish people understood about CF. It's very challenging, both psychologically and physically, and everything's harder with CF. And I think people, even when you have CF, don't realize it. And I didn't realize how much harder things were until I had my transplant and I had new healthy lungs to breathe through. Everything's harder when your body's working so hard just to breathe. Making your bed is harder, thinking is harder, going out with your friends is harder, everything. You don't realize you're just working all the time. You're working twice as hard with half the energy. And we do look healthy and well, but inside, you know, you're sick.
The most difficult hardship I've overcome through CF is definitely my double lung transplant. You see, last year things got really, really bad for me. I was pretty much on oxygen 24/7, 6 liters or more at that point. I had a 10% FEV1 lung function. I had hemoptysis pretty much weekly at that point, and I was fighting for my life. I had to relocate to Stanford. We had to do a lot of fundraising in order to just pay for the living expenses, the medical expenses. And on October 17th, 2015, I got the call that changed my life. I got my double lung transplant, and it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, recovering from that. But growing up with CF, it taught me how to fight. I mean, I'm a fighter, so I used all that, everything I've been through all my life, and of course with the support of so many people, and the love, the energy, the positive energy, the power of prayer, all that helped me go through what I went through and recover. And today, I can proudly say that I'm able to do things I've never done before in my life. I'm a lot more active, I've got strength, my FEV1 is higher than ever, and I'm hiking, I'm biking, I'm boxing, I'm doing martial arts again, I'm playing a harmonica, I'm enjoying life. I'm truly living one day as a lion instead of 1,000 as a sheep, like my Uncle Vince used to tell me. And I'm happy, most importantly. And I thank God for my organ donor, and I hope that other people think about being an organ donor, because believe me, it changes a lot of lives.
The biggest hardship that I faced in dealing with CF actually came this past year. My first year in college, it was around finals week, so I was already kind of struggling there. And I had this horrible cough, and I was so sick. And so for a month or two, I was on 5 different antibiotics. I was in student health 4 times a week, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me. And it was so stressful and just so draining. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then finally, my doctor tried this other antibiotic, and it worked. And I got healthy, and just in time for the start of summer, I was fine, and I was off antibiotics. And so now I have been off antibiotics for 3 months, and it's the first time in 3 years that it's been like that. So it's just another example of CF kind of throwing a hardship your way, throwing this obstacle and saying, what are you gonna do about it? And another opportunity for you to overcome it and show that you are stronger than this disease.
So a hardship to overcome with CF is not being able to have children. My husband and I tried about 4 or 5 years ago. In the CF world, you have to have the perfect lung function for a set of time in order to get pregnant, and then as the baby grows, once you become pregnant, your lung function will drop, I think they said like 40%. So you have to be at your healthiest. So we tried for 2 years, and it just didn't happen, and after 2 years my lung function had dropped below the line of comfortableness for the doctors. So I think the hardship was not being able to experience that part of life. But in the end, it's okay, because we look back at it now, and if we had a kid, you know, I'm a kid myself, so when I go in the hospital, like, who's gonna watch my kid when my kid goes to school? If they bring bugs home, I'm gonna get them. So, I mean, kids are wonderful, and the people that have CF that have them, I mean, that's amazing, but it just wasn't in the cards for us, and we're okay with that. And so we have our little puppy Gabby, and she is my bundle of joy, and I want a zoo. If I can't have kids, I want a zoo. So I just think maybe not being able to experience that in life, but everything happens for a reason, and we were able to cope and overcome it. And I almost felt like a failure not being able to give my husband that experience, but he was totally okay with it and understood, and it actually works out with our lifestyle, not having kids. And we looked into adoption, but just doesn't really fit with our lifestyle. But maybe later in the future we'll see. But yeah, just not experiencing that aspect of life that many women get to.
The biggest hardship that I feel I've overcome with CF was last October, almost a year ago. I went into acute respiratory failure, and my decline was very quick and very unexpected. I hadn't been in the hospital in 2.5 years, and I went from a completely functioning, excelling person with this disease who had complete control over my CF to someone who was dying. Basically, I was on a ventilator in the ICU, and I was listed for a double lung transplant, and I was put on a life support machine called ECMO, which was basically breathing for me. And for 23 days, I was on life support until organs were made available for me. That was the first part, but I think even more challenging than waiting for lungs was my recovery. I was in the hospital for 3 months total, and I had to basically relearn to do almost everything because all of my body atrophied from my time in the ICU. So when I left the hospital, I couldn't even stand up on my own. And now I'm almost a year post-transplant, and I've had to bust my butt to get back my strength. I'm not all the way there, but it's easier now that I'm breathing with healthy lungs.
So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it was a long one, but I thought it was very important to show all of their stories in one video back to back, because I wanted you to see the difference between each individual, to see that people with cystic fibrosis, they may have the same illness, but it affects them all differently. And also, I want to give a huge thank you. I know I've already said thank you enough, but thank you so much to Nick, Angel, Abby, Melissa for being in this video. I can't thank you enough, and I hope you guys liked the video. So that's it for this week's video. Please feel free to comment any of your questions below regarding cystic fibrosis or videos that you would like to see in the future. Please feel free to follow any of my social media and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. My name is Ashley Wilson. I am 19 years old and I have cystic fibrosis. I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth. I was born in Denver, Colorado, which was the first state in the nation to include cystic fibrosis in newborn screening.